I'm terrified. Brew shouldn't be worried at all. Because facts are the facts. Listen, Brew, and I know we argue sometimes. No one's going to be able to argue about this. If we know anything about Chris Broussard, it's that he loves Jimmy Garoppolo. That Jimmy G wins. That Jimmy G wins. And that Jimmy G, quote, his body simply betrayed him, end quote. Well, luckily, he's healthy now. So now the Rams, we know that Brew thinks Stafford wasn't that good last year to begin with. How many times have I heard that?
His moments.
And that Jimmy G is a winner. And we also know that Brew thinks the Rams' weapons, they have their own Avengers. So they have Jimmy G, sharp head coach, their own Avengers. I think they're cooked without Stafford. I assume Brew thinks it's tomato, Stafford to Jimmy G.
I'm going to pull a Nick Wright card. I'll have my own opinion, thank you. He just said like 4 things. Brew thinks this, Brew thinks that. I'm not even thinking about Jimmy Garoppolo. You're the one that's in love with the Rams. Jimmy Garoppolo years ago was a good quarterback in San Francisco. But I've moved on, all right? And you should move on if you're thinking the Rams are going to do something this year. Look, they might make the playoffs, but this is major reason for concern, all right? And it's not – Sean McVay thought he was going to be ready like right around the start of training camp. And he is not even throwing footballs 3 weeks away from the start of the season. I get it. He's everybody's All-American, all right? But he's 37. He's been banged up his entire, he got banged up in Detroit. And the last 3 years, he's really been banged up. Hasn't played to the standard he had set before. I think he's going to play. But I just think he's not going to be – he'll have his moments. He is a very good quarterback. But he is not going to be the Matthew Stafford who led them to that Super Bowl a few years ago.
Well, he threw the ball 60 times a few days ago, and they thought that he'd be able to come back on the Monday, and he wasn't. But they are almost a month away, a little bit under a month away before the first game. So you do have time to rest someone, in this situation. I would imagine if they felt really concerned, they would probably continue to address the quarterback situation.
Because you can't go into a year with Jimmy Garoppolo.
That's what I'm looking at. Like, when are we going to see a trade?
But because
you don't think they think they can play Jimmy?
I do think they can play Jimmy. The fear for fans in this situation is a fragile quarterback behind a hurt quarterback. Like, to me, that's problematic. Yeah. And then the next quarterback hasn't played. Stetson Bennett. He hasn't played. He's 27 years old. So you got an older quarterback who's inexperienced. So that's not great. But we also have to remember there are medications that guys take during the course of the season that help with aggravated backs that you may not take during training camp because you're not playing a game.
Yeah.
Never underestimate a quarterback named Stetson.
Okay, yeah. There's obviously plenty to be concerned here, right? There should clearly be, I don't know if panic is the right word, but definitely uncomfortable. I mean, right now, Matthew Stafford has me reminded of the baseball movie Major League, or The Pitcher, where he's just like explaining to the younger pitcher all the stuff that he has to put all over his body to make things, to be able to put on the ball, where he's got like, I don't know, like icy hot and Vaseline, and it's just like all over, and it's just, I'm haunted by that scene when I watched that movie as a kid, and it's like, that's what it feels like right now with Stafford. And yeah, it's frustrating because if you're a Rams fan, because the question clearly says, time for Rams fans to panic. There's a real belief, and I think this belief is rooted in reality, that this Rams team can be great, and that they can actually go, they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender and can make a run. This defense has been great. The O-line was significantly improved. Cooper Kupp just was not who he was last year, but Puka Nacua has been balling. And now you bring in Devontae, who was balling. I mean, like, his make no mistake, his last few years have been kind of robbed from him because of where he's been playing and the situation that he's in. But now he's with Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, and has Puka Nacua right next to him. I mean, like, my Lord, and that's just you're literally going from just as bad as it gets to a paradise. And it's not hard to imagine that damage would be done having Stafford throw the ball to you as well. And there's a lot of excitement, and there should be a lot of excitement, and now you have to deal with this. And before there was any sense of any of these injuries or any of this issues with Matthew Stafford, I was saying this. I said this so many times where I was like, the Rams could be great. The Rams can be great, but they need to be able to preserve Matthew Stafford throughout the season. He needs to do a lot less throughout the season. They need to protect him. You know, it's all about being healthy, getting into the postseason, because he will wear down. You don't want him throwing 35, 40 times a game, week after week after week. It's just, this is LeBron James, where it's just you're in a 7-game series. By game 2, by game 3, by game 4, doesn't look so good, and then now you're in the next round, and it's like, ooh-ho. So you really got to monitor that throughout the season, and that was when there was no hint of him being remotely injured, and now you're starting off the season of him being banged up, and it's like, it's just not great. It just, to me, I still think the Rams can be great, and I have no idea what Stafford's going to look like at this point, right? Because none of us could know, but you're just not starting off from a strong position. You're already starting from a weakened position. And here's the thing, so he's banged up. He's obviously not practicing as much as he normally would, and where he'd be at this time. You're just already starting at a deficit. He's not going to be healthier. This problem isn't going to magically be resolved where now there's just no issues 3 weeks from now. It's just not the impression that I get. This will be something that will linger, which is why Manini kind of talked about some like medicine that he could take and all that type of stuff, which is fine, but it is just so far from ideal. And it's just already starting to fill your cup up with nonsense that you have to deal with, and you just get closer and closer to it overflowing. That's just the way it works. And so it's just, yeah, it's frustrating. It's the injuries and this type of stuff is just the worst part of sports. And every time something like this happens, you're just like, I always ask myself, like, why do I do it, man? Why do I do it? And again, I'm not panicking. I'm not saying the season's over. I'm not saying, this is done before it ever started. Like, I'm not saying that, but like, I still want to have an accurate conversation that was like, this is uncomfortable. This is unsettling. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, there's nothing to worry about right now. We're overreacting. We're still a month away from week 1. I'm not doing that either. But I'm also not taking the extreme and just saying, this is a disaster. Oh my God, they have no chance now. Season over. Because I don't think that either. And if this is something that lingers a little bit more or gets aggravated and you kind of have to really baby it, I don't know. I trust Jimmy Garoppolo with Sean McVay. I'm not telling you that Jimmy Garoppolo is gonna, again, like, just unload on the league and just dominate here. But like, I trust Sean McVay. And if Sean McVay knew that he had a 37-year-old older banged up quarterback, all right, going into the season, and he said, I'm gonna have Jimmy Garoppolo as my backup. I don't know, man. I'm gonna go along with Sean McMaw. Sean McMaw knows more than me. He knows more than me about evaluating quarterbacks as well. So I'm gonna go along with that. So again, hardly ideal. And if Matthew Stafford's down for the count and it's just all Jimmy G, don't think that this team then has the same chances of winning a Super Bowl and being as great of a contender. But if it is one of those kind of wonky situations where now Jimmy G has to step up for a couple games or something for a few weeks, I think that's totally fair and totally doable. And I think in a weird way, I almost hope we kind of see it just so we could see what Jimmy G looks like with Sean McVay. And it'll be more further proof the absolute utmost importance of coaching and how it impacts and how great players can be when you have some pieces around you, when you have the right coach, when you're protected, when you have a good defense. Like the more examples of having that, the better to work from. Obviously, I don't want Stafford to be injured. Obviously, I want this season to go smoothly, but just from a strictly outside looking in entertainment perspective and sake of a conversation, I'm like, I kind of do hope we see Jimmy G for like a game or two. Like, you know, it's an interesting talking point, but yeah, this is frustrating. And so I don't think Rams fans need to panic, but they should definitely feel uncomfortable. And I think anyone who's telling you otherwise is just not telling you the truth. And anyone who's saying, this is absolutely an alarm, oh my God, Mayday, 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 they're also not telling you the truth. Like anything, it's in between. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Los Angeles Rams? Do you think it's time for Rams fans to panic? Let me know in the comments below. I'm also curious what you guys are hearing. Any of the LA fans who are locked into a lot of the local conversations, local media and all that. Any other whispers that you're potentially hearing. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So, you agree with me or disagree with me? Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and absolutely. And love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be a part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.